Welcome to Complexity Made Simple. My name is Paul Allen, and in this video newsletter what we're going to talk about is why 90% of your quality problems are senior management's fault, as in only senior management can fix the problem. Okay, and it will be related to senior management decisions why those quality problems exist. All right, so this is a quote really that I think is from 90% of your quality problems. This is from Edwards Deming. 90% of problems belong to senior management. Now, I always thought when I first heard this that somehow Deming had measured this. Maybe he'd collected data on it and he'd measured it. And I have to say that in my quality career, this is exactly what I see. This is exactly what I see. I see 90% of problems belong to senior management. Now, of course, one of the things that I'm very conscious of in my work, I only get called into companies with problems. So my sample is a bit biased. I never get called into good companies and that they ask me to solve a problem. So I never see what good companies are up to. I only see what bad companies are up to. But 90% of problems are going to belong to the senior management. And I just want to explain to you why. This isn't a measurement. It's just a fact of life of the type of problems that you've got related to the physics of the machine. So let's just draw the physics of the situation and then I'll explain why this has to be the case. There's two types of problem when you're trying to hit a dimension. You can be off center like this, or you can be perfectly centered but you've got too much variability. So we're sitting dead on target there. There's the target there, we're off target. So this is off target, this is too much variability. Now this problem is fixable by local management. Not only is it fixable by local management, I can usually fix it in the next 3 minutes. Why is that? Because I got a dial. There's an adjustment on the front of my machine, and I know what that adjustment does. It swings this result backwards and forwards, and I know I can play with it and I can make the machine do what I want it to do. And if I've got nice capability like that, once this starts to come, and it doesn't even have to be centered, does it? Let's be honest. If it does that, I'm defect free. So that's not going to be a problem because it's only going to exist for the next 3 minutes. Any operator that's measuring this, if that's what the machine looks like, if that's what the results are looking like, they will fix it in the next 3 minutes. That's not going to be a long-term problem. This one, on the other hand, where's the adjustment dial? When did you ever buy a machine with an adjustment dial that said, reduce the variability? Where's the dial to reduce that? Those problems are what senior management have built into the system. So let's look at the theory of a process. You have a process. The idea is that you have a money-making process. You have inputs and you have outputs. Now, some of the inputs will swing the process backwards and forwards. They tend to be machine settings. They're things like speed, feed, temperature. They're just basic settings on the machine and I can just dial them to a particular value. Now they will move this thing backwards and forwards. But some of the input variables create variability, and they tend to be policies and procedures, systems of work that are not properly followed. So for example, we'll say clean the filter weekly. Okay? So it's a maintenance routine. It's not an operator's routine. Operators swing the middle backwards and forwards. You want to clean the filter weekly. But there's a policy of reducing the amount of money. Senior management policy decided this. They want to reduce the budget for maintenance costs. So they've thinned the maintenance department down a little bit. They buy less spare parts. So we haven't got a clean filter to put in there because we don't want to do it weekly anymore. So we've cut the budget. We haven't actually got the people to do the maintenance. We've cut the budget. So instead of doing it weekly, well, sometimes we do it after 10 days. Sometimes we do it a little bit quicker than that. Maybe we do it after 5 days. So we're not doing this as we plan to do, and the process now gets very much more random. We haven't got the resources to do it. Because you could be buying cheap material. Same thing applies to cheap material. Good material, you might have a spec for the material, might come in and be very capable. Cheaper material is less capable. If you push that into the input side of your system, you have to create more variability on the output side of your system. Now that was senior managers' decision. They decide where the raw material comes from. They decide how much money to spend on maintenance. What else could be wrong? Let's say that we have an input which is that we are supposed to use a tip called, we buy it from Sandvik, and it's the A123 tip. But that system doesn't work very well. For whatever reason, we're not putting enough resource in there. We're fighting maybe with the purchasing department to get the tips purchased. So instead of the A123 being available, we end up using the X456 as a replacement. And of course, the minute we use a different tip, well, maybe different settings are needed on the machine, and now we're having to make up settings on the machine. What will all of these things do? They make this wider. The operator can't change this. The operator didn't do this. The fact that the tip wasn't available for them isn't the operator's fault, isn't the technician's fault. They don't have a dial to fix that. That's senior management's responsibility to fix that. Cleaning the filter, that's senior management's responsibility to fix that. Buying cheap material, that's senior management's policy. These are policies. And of course, the decision was made in the office and the problem appears on the shop floor. These problems are bound to exist. You're bound to get this. Because with this one, if the technician picks the wrong setting and the thing's off center, he made the decision and he can see the results. He'll correct that within the next 3 minutes. You're never going to get problems of being off center. I say never. People do get it, but they're rare. In my 25 years of fixing problems, how many problems have I seen like this? Less than 5% of the problems. So, in other words, I've probably seen in my career something close to 95% of the problems look like this. And they tend to be systems of work that only the senior management can affect. Only the senior management can change the resources being put into maintenance. Only the senior management can go and look for better raw materials. They're policy decisions. Decision made over here, cause and effect over here. They never see the effect, and therefore they never get to fix them. These problems can be fixed in 3 minutes. They say that these problems will take 3 months. They're much more difficult to fix. They're much more built into the way the system works. The fact that we're not purchasing all the machining tips at the right speed, making them available in the right time, that's a system problem that the technician can't fix. All the technician does is go, oh, I haven't got A123s, I'll make do, I'll make it work. And he manipulates the machine to get the machine to work some way or other. But maybe with a much bigger defect rate than what was going to be there if the 123 had been available. So because of the nature of the problems, the fact that they're more, they're just not attached to the point of activity, these decisions about where to get material from, they're not attached to the point of activity. And because of that, you don't see the cause and effect. They're much more difficult to change. These things will be changed in 3 minutes. These decisions, they may never be changed at all unless you start looking at your process capability and understand the physics. Is the physics about the aim? In which case, you can fix the problem in 3 minutes. Or is your problem about the spread? In which case, it's going to take you 3 months probably to fix this. Spread is the responsibility of senior management. Aim is the responsibility of local management. And 90% of the problems are usually about this, because of how difficult it is to get rid of. So I used to think that I was just seeing a bad subset, a biased group. But when I think about it logically and I think about the physics, this has to exist. Go and have a look at your company. Go and have a look at your capability. Is it about spread or aim? If it's about spread, it's going to take you 3 months and it's senior management who need to fix it. Go fix the right things, and guess what? You are going to make pots and pots more money.